Why was the Mongol army ranked as the strongest in history? Was it sheer numbers? Was it brilliant tactics? Or was it something deeper? Something forged in the marrow of every rider, a spirit so unbreakable that it could bend empires to its will. To answer this, we must leave the comfort of cities and step into a harsher world. A world where the wind carries not just dust, but the lessons of survival. A world without stone walls, where the horizon never ends, and the sky itself seems to watch. This is the steppe, the birthplace of the Mongols. Here, survival is not a choice, it is the only law, and in this endless grassland, warriors are not made, they are born. On the steppe, a child's first toy is not a wooden sword, it is a pony. By the age of 3, most boys can ride at a trot. By 5, they can gallop. By 7, they can hit a target from horseback while the wind tears at their hair. Girls, too, are trained the same way. In the Mongol world, the bow does not care who draws it. The horse does not care who rides it. Strength is measured not by gender, but by skill and endurance. The land itself is a teacher. Winters here can kill in hours. Summers can burn the skin raw. The wind carries sand that can strip the color from leather. Every day is a lesson in adaptation. In this school without walls, the curriculum is survival. The tests are real. Fail, and you vanish into the grass forever. Pass, and you become part of a people who fear no battlefield, because they have lived their whole lives in one. Genghis Khan understood that courage alone could win battles, but only structure could win empires. He broke the old tribal bonds, reshaping his warriors into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. No longer bound by bloodline, each man stood where loyalty and merit placed him. Orders flowed like water from the Khan down to the smallest unit, and in return, news from the smallest unit flowed back to the Khan. Communication was not a luxury. It was the spine of the army. In battle, this structure meant 10,000 riders could move as if they were one. They could wheel, split, merge, and strike from unexpected angles, all without chaos, all without hesitation. This discipline was not just for the battlefield. It shaped every moment of their lives. From hunting parties to camp duties, the same chain of command ensured that nothing was left to chance. Every rider knew his role. Every commander knew his men. And Genghis Khan knew his army as a man knows the lines of his own hand. Training was relentless. Horses were swapped mid-gallop until rider and mount became a single living machine. Archers practiced firing in every direction, forward, sideways, even backward, so that no pursuit or retreat was without a sting. They drilled in silence, learning to move like the wind, arriving without warning, departing without a trace. Endurance was forged through hardship. Long rides across frozen rivers, marches under a punishing sun, nights spent with only a horse's body for warmth. There was no separation between life and preparation. The hunt was training. The journey was training. The very act of surviving the steppe was training for war. For the Mongols, strategy was not a map drawn on parchment. It was a way of thinking, shaped by the endless horizon and the shifting winds of the steppe. They scouted wide, seeing not just where the enemy stood, but where he would move, where he would falter, where the land itself could be turned against him. They offered emptiness where the enemy expected resistance. They offered fury where he expected pursuit. A battle was not won in the clash of swords. It was won in the space between the enemy's doubts and his mistakes. The feigned retreat was a masterpiece. The front line would give ground on purpose, drawing their pursuers into the vast open plain. The chase stretched their stamina thin, their formation broken by the thrill of the hunt. Then, from the wings, the Mongol crescent closed. Hooves struck like hammers, arrows fell like rain, and what had looked like a retreat became the jaws of a trap. Hardship was not the enemy. It was the forge. Every long ride through snow, every march under a burning sun was a test of the will that bound the Mongol army together. They could ride for days without rest, surviving on fermented mare's milk, or in desperate times, the blood of their own horses, taken without harm, a pact between rider and steed. Discipline was absolute. Disobedience was not tolerated, no matter the rank. A theft of supplies, a failure to follow orders, could mean death before the eyes of the entire unit. This was not cruelty for its own sake. It was a message that the survival of the whole was worth more than the life of any single man. And because every rider understood this, they fought not just for themselves, but for their families, their tribes, their ancestors, and the generations yet to come. Fortified walls were no guarantee of safety. The Mongols learned the language of stone. From the Chinese, they took engineers and siegecraft, building towering siege engines, constructing rams and ladders, and hurling great stones with catapults that sang through the air before shattering gates. If a wall was too high to scale, they tunneled beneath it, burning the wooden supports until the earth gave way and the stone above collapsed in a roar of dust. But not every city was taken by force. Sometimes the most effective weapon was time. Surrounded by riders who cut every road, burned every crop, and poisoned every well, a city could starve without a single arrow fired. And when the gates finally opened, those inside knew the choice they faced: mercy for surrender or annihilation for resistance. The Mongols understood that war was not only physical, it was psychological. Before the first arrow flew, letters might arrive to the city's governor, listing the names of his family members, his allies, his rivals, proof that the Mongols already knew the heart of the city better than its own rulers. Promises of safety could turn defenders into allies overnight. Tales of massacres in other cities spread faster than any scout. Fear traveled ahead of the army, softening walls long before the siege began. When force was needed, the Mongols made it unforgettable. A single act of destruction would become a warning to others, carried on the lips of fleeing survivors who had seen what happened to those who defied the Khan. Reputation was a weapon, and in the hands of the Mongols it was as sharp as any blade. An army is only as fast as its supplies, and the Mongols made their supplies move like the wind. They traveled with herds of sheep, goats, and horses, food and transport living and breathing alongside the warriors. Hunters rode ahead to bring fresh meat, while subdued towns paid tribute in grain, fodder, and remounts. The yam system was their invisible highway. Relay stations stretched across the empire, each with fresh horses and riders waiting. A message could travel hundreds of miles in a single day, changing horse after horse without ever slowing its pace. This network did more than carry words. It carried orders, maps, intelligence, and when needed, the Khan's will itself. The result was an army that could move faster than any opponent, striking before news of its approach could reach the enemy's ears. Against European knights in heavy armor, the Mongols refused to fight strength with strength. They circled, feinted, and showered them with arrows from a distance until exhaustion cracked the steel wall. Against massed infantry, they stayed in motion, never allowing themselves to be pinned, striking from angles that foot soldiers could not match. They studied every enemy before the first battle. They knew the rival princes who distrusted each other, the commanders whose pride would blind them, the allies who could be turned with silver and promises. When they met brilliance, they learned from it. When they met arrogance, they broke it. No two enemies were defeated the same way, but all were defeated. The Mongol conquests redrew the map of the world. From the Pacific Ocean to the plains of Hungary, kingdoms fell and empires shattered under the thunder of hooves. But their legacy was not only in destruction. They made the Silk Road safe, patrolling it with the same discipline they carried into war. Merchants could travel from one end of Asia to the other with far less fear of bandits or warlords. They moved ideas as well as goods. Paper money, gunpowder, printing, technologies born in the East spread westward under Mongol protection. In return, knowledge from the Islamic world, medicine, astronomy, mathematics, flowed into China. This exchange did not erase the scars of conquest, but it changed the course of history, linking worlds that had once been strangers. So why was the Mongol army ranked as the strongest in history? It was not sheer numbers. It was not tactics alone. It was the fusion of both, forged in the harshest land on earth, tempered by discipline, and driven by a spirit that refused to break. They were a force of nature, as swift as the wind, as patient as the desert, and as relentless as time itself. Their rise reminds us that power is not only in the sword, but in the mind that guides it, the will that sustains it, and the unity that makes it more than the sum of its parts. And though centuries have passed since the last thunder of Mongol hooves faded, their shadow still rides across the pages of history. A reminder that under the wide sky of the steppe, warriors were not made. They were born,